All right, so we've got the one and only Stephanie Castellanos. Yes. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did say it right.
Okay.
Good.
We got Castellanos.
You took that Spanish class.
With the 2 L's?
Yeah, you got the
Come on, I gotta be cultured, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, first off, thank you for being here.
I'm excited.
Yeah, this is exciting for me too. I mean, this is just dope. I'm just excited. So, all right. Now we have an amazing, we're gonna have an amazing time. We already spent the last, I don't know, what was it, an hour or something?
Yeah. Trying to not really catch up too much because we wanted to save it for the good.
I was like, wait, don't talk.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. So now let's go into what you actually do. You got a lot going on, and we've known each other for quite some time, so like 10 years, I think.
About a decade. Yep. Time flies.
Crazy. It's so crazy.
It is. So what am I up to now? Wow, that's a good question. So I was telling you that I moved from the Bay Area recently, less than 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I left my traditional 9 to 5, I would say 9 to 9, because we all know that those 9 to 5s.
Mm-hmm.
I left my traditional paycheck, I would say, let's say that, to first travel for a couple months. I backpacked alone through South America, and in that time, I thought I'd have some really good time to reflect and see what I really wanted to do. Moving back to LA, back home, I felt a big urge to just kind of reconnect with my community. Particularly, I'm from Inglewood, so I moved back to Inglewood. We're up to some good. A lot of us are up to some good. So I moved back to Inglewood right after traveling, and so what I've been doing since is running my organization full time, which is a nonprofit that works to get more teachers of color into urban communities to teach.
And that's the C4D?
Yeah, that's the Coalition for Diverse Educators. So I'm currently doing that full time as the executive director and co-founder, and simultaneously running my consulting business. So I'm doing a lot of really awesome consulting work with teacher prep programs, school districts, charter networks, and just really trying to get more people of color into the pipeline around the table, to have a seat at the table. So I'm doing like headhunting, I guess you can, another way of describing it is I'm doing some really awesome searches for great positions with a lot of leading organizations doing great work with the community. So staying busy doing that. And then I'm really excited because I actually had reached out to you to be on.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I reached out to you initially.
Yeah, you did.
To be on a podcast that I'm really excited to be launching within the next couple months called Woke Talk, which is a jump, or it came from, I would say, I had these trainings that are equity-centered training called WOKEshops. So it's like workshops, but it's like a play on
when
that.
I first saw that, I was like, oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
It's
So I was
catchy.
like,
Playing words. So great.
Yeah, so I have these trainings called WOKEshops, and I've done these trainings and reached about 20,000 students of color around the country.
So crazy.
But essentially what they are is I'm trying to have critical conversations around race, equity, power, privilege, how our identities affect the everyday work that we do for students of color on the ground. So like college students, young professionals. The initial idea came just really wanting to inspire people to go into education and social justice work, and saying if people really knew what was happening in their community, if people really knew the gravity of the teacher shortage crisis, they would be inspired to be a teacher like they always wanted. But a lot of the times, especially as a first generation college student, or a lot of friends that were students of color, they were being pulled in different directions being the first people to go to college. They were like, you're going to be a teacher? Like, how are you going to be a teacher and go to UCLA? Like, you're the first person to go to college. You have a financial responsibility to your family in many ways, but also you're carrying that torch, right? You're blazing that trail. So the coalition and the WOKEshops really came from the idea of, I was interviewing hundreds and hundreds of, literally hundreds of students of color through my work, doing this work with Johns Hopkins University and urban teachers.
Oh, wow.
And what I was realizing was they're just students of color, myself, we had to learn how to navigate it. We had to learn how to interview. We had to learn how to write a resume.
Yeah.
If you look at my first resume,
it was, oh my gosh.
I'm sure it's funny. I think I had like an email that was like in sync forever. It was like some inappropriate.
You put it on the resume? No
I had that
way.
as an email at one point. I was a big NSYNC fan. Yeah, so I'll just say that. But
what about Backstreet Boys?
I know. We can't.
No? Oh, you choosing one?
No, we're going to have problems. No, we can't do this. So I had to navigate these things that I'm sure you did, and it took trial and error. So what I was really trying to do is just give an opportunity to share the resources of what I've learned along the way. Looking through all these hundreds of resumes and thousands of resumes. And what I started to notice was that students of color, we started to see a big peak in applications and students of color being admitted into these programs. And so
from what
I was
you were
doing,
directly doing.
Yeah. So we started to really look at this impact and say, so I was doing recruitment and admissions for an organization called Urban Teachers, which is an amazing organization that works with Johns Hopkins and looks at teacher preparation in the way that you're supposed to train doctors. So instead of throwing teachers into the classroom within a year or two,
which is what actually
happens, 6
happened,
weeks, you know, like you're really going in there and training teachers, giving them a 1-year residency, like your nursing residency, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're in the classroom with the master teacher. They're really getting hands-on training. They're getting their credentials. They're getting their masters from the top graduate school in the country in education, and then they get 3 more years of they signed a contract to work at a school for 3 more years, a 4-year commitment. So for me doing that work all over the West Coast, like I was I don't know if you remember me bouncing around.
Yeah, you were.
I was still all over the place. Yeah, I was bouncing around everywhere, and part of that just came from that. Like it was just me recruiting and looking at recruitment in a different perspective. Don't show up at a career fair because career fairs don't work. Like, how many times did you go to a career fair as an undergrad?
Maybe once.
Maybe once, right?
Yeah.
How many times did you step foot in your career center? I mean, be honest, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I never did. I
yeah.
never went to a career fair. So why are recruiters who want to connect with students of color going to career fairs to hire people? You're just not going to find us there. And so what we do, the coalition does, is really do grassroots organizing. We connect with, Latino, Greek, and Black Greeks too. And we do these professional development workshops. In return, we provide a service, right? We provide the support system to gatekeepers, people who are literally reading your application and admitting you. In return, hey, we spread the message, and the chances are we'll probably know somebody that otherwise we'd have never met unless we went into like we did the National Conference for Hermanas Unidas last year, and I was a keynote speaker.
I actually know that organization.
Yeah. And so we did that. Instead of going to career fair, I'm like, hey, why don't we all just sponsor these really dope conferences of color, of students of color, and in return we bring a resource fair to them, but we bring a support system too. So it's like a win-win situation. So,
right.
So that's exactly what I'm doing now. So that's the coalition work. Those are the WOKEshops. And the podcast came from those conversations, literally students feeling sometimes brought into tears, really sharing their personal experiences and saying, how can this platform be a bigger voice for people of color to show the dope work that we're all doing around the country that people aren't talking about? Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's so crazy. So, okay, so just in a nutshell, you said, C4D.
Yep.
And that's still running.
That's
we
just launched last week our recruitment season. So we have monthly webinars for our partners, and we just strategize on like what's happening in recruitment in real time. How are we all attacking the different issues and challenges? And so we meet every month.
That's so crazy. Okay, so now let me ask you a question. Okay, so why, I know that C4D started, and then now you have WOKEshops.
I have WOKEshops, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You had or you have?
I have. That's still happening.
Okay, good.
I have one this Saturday, actually.
Yeah, it better be. Great. So now I know you just told a story about, and maybe I might have missed this, but you just told a little bit about what WOKEshops and C4D is doing. Yeah. Right. Now, so talk about like how did you come about it? Like, what did something happen for you for that to spawn, or like what spawned that?
What spawned how did C4D come?
I want to know about the WOKEshops.
Oh, the WOKEshops. Yeah. So, I mean, to be very honest, the part of the strategy that I was using was very unconventional, and I had to really push back against like my boss, a lot of people who didn't understand why I was advocating around the table to do these strategies that nobody had ever had data on whether it worked or not. And so I felt like there was a lot of pushback. Like, what do you mean we're not going to go to career fairs? Because I had a lot of agency in like how we strategize in different regions. And so for me, it was these WOKEshops really came from me being on the ground, organizing students of color, and students of color saying like, when I would have the conversations about the teacher shortage crisis and why this organization that's a 4-year program versus like a 1-year program exists, students wanted to hear more. They were like, wait, what? 50% of teachers leave the classroom by their 5th year. 22,000 teachers that started today, this week, will be dropped out of the classroom to never return by the end of the school year. So when students start to hear the gravity of, 60% of teachers in America are white women, right? But we have a growing diverse population, and if you can remember what your best teachers were, a lot of them probably were the teachers of color who really connected with you. Like, right, you felt like they were your homies.
Miss Collins, Mr. Lewis. Oh, man.
Give him a shout out. Give them a shout out, right? Like,
absolutely.
They need shout outs. But you remember your teachers for your entire life,
That's
right?
very true.
And so, and the impact that they have is just literally a ripple effect. Imagine, like, one of your teachers could have sparked you being really great at public speaking, right? And that took your career to literally unbelievable levels, right? So what we want is people like that, like you, to go back into the hood, really, because it's not just about going and back to teaching. Like, go where you're needed. Roll up your sleeves and go where it's harder, right? You have to connect a little bit deeper. You have to put extra practices, more effort to connect with parents, because there's a lot of barriers for parent engagement. So what I'm doing is really trying to figure out ways to just plant seeds, right? I think that's what the important part is. It's not really, I don't think we're going to change everyone's life, but if we can just plant seeds and maybe they know somebody who wants to teach and they can let them know about it, or vice versa, then I think, we all get better teachers.
You know what's interesting that you say that is that somebody, I was getting some some salsa from the store, right? Actually yesterday. And so this girl shows up and she comes around the corner. She goes, hey, she starts walking up to, hey, it's nice to see you. I've actually got, I need to talk to you for a minute. Like, I represent this newspaper. And so what she was going around and doing was essentially interviewing people. And I saw her do it to other people after me. Yeah. And she would type it down. So she asked me, she said, what do you feel our kids need today in our schools for them to be successful? Yep. And I go, well, that's
a good question.
That's a really big question there. Yeah. And here's what I believe. And I grew up in LAUSD. In LA, I went to public schools throughout. I mean, I did go to high school in Nigeria, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, girl, come on. Yeah. See, so I did elementary school in LA. I went to 74th Street. Okay. And then I did middle school at John Muir Middle School.
Okay, I
it's
know
on
that
60th in Vermont.
Yep.
Right, and then in the 8th grade, I left the country, but I did come back for high school, senior year of high school. Wow. But I went. By the time I came back, I was all the way in Corona. That's Centennial High School in Corona. So LAUSD, right, from the age of birth till 13. Yeah. And I know what it's like, and I was born and raised in the hood. Yeah. So here's what I believe about that. What I believe is this. The government, to me, the government really is not going to do anything about this. Like, it's so...
Especially now, right?
Since we got
that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, right. So
just on that.
I just think in general, I'm not going to go into crazy sentiments about it, but I know the government's not going to do anything about it. It's just not going to do anything about it. What's going to happen is there's going to need to be someone who's entrepreneurial, like people who are entrepreneurial, people who are going to create either for-profit or nonprofit and create programs that'll help our kids with education. Yeah. I believe that's the only thing that's going to help at all. And it sounds like that's what you're doing.
You're getting into some muddy waters right now.
Oh, by saying this?
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you why.
Oh, snap.
So, no, this is good. This is a really good conversation, because this is the reason why our coalition even started to exist, is like Takes It Back.
Good. Very good.
So right now we know, I worked for LAUSD for 3 years after graduating. I worked for an after school program, which is the second largest in the country, LA's best. So I worked with the Highland Park community. I was, working one-on-one with students there. So I had a really good idea of a lot of from a very different perspective, right? Now as a young professional in a management position, having the conversations with parents, having the conversations with students and teachers. And then I worked at a charter network, right? But I worked not at just any charter network. I worked at a charter network that was growing exponentially at the same time. I was the founding talent director and recruitment director and managed the HR department too.
Okay.
And so there is this this bureaucracy of charter schools cannot and do not work with traditional school districts, meaning your LAUSD or your 76th Street, right? Like, we just don't work together because we have a very different way of approaching. We all want the same thing at the end of the day. We want better schools. We just have a very different approach of how to going about it. And because of that, we are working in silos. We're working on our own. And so the coalition tries to, I know one of the only organizations that really has everyone around the table. Traditional school districts, we are working with, traditional school districts and charter schools are working together to say, it's not about you get this teacher and I get this teacher. It's, can we all, there's a huge untapped potential that we're not reaching. There's room for all of us up here, right? We don't have to, we can all work together. And so, but what you mentioned is really a huge problem in education right now. You mentioned government not being able to do anything, and that's the fight. It's who can do something. And one side says that traditional school districts are too slow to do anything. It takes them too long. They're like snail mail, right?
I agree.
Right? And we just need something now. Like, we need change now. We don't have time to waste. Communities of color are falling behind at exponential rates. And then charter schools are like, hey, like, we want these entrepreneurs to come in and really be game changers in the community. So it just depends on how you see it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But it's controversial. It's hella controversial. I work with both, right? So I think we can live in a world where both coexist and are both working together. But that's like utopia for some people.
Straight up. I mean, so, okay. First off, I just want to say thank you for doing that, because it's like, if we don't have our education, I'm very grateful. I grew up in the gifted magnet program. Whether it be gifted, whether it be gifted or regular, whatever you want to call it, like, I still remember all my teachers. We need that. We need it. So thank you for being one to do that, because you're gonna have to ruffle a lot of feathers. Yeah, as you probably already have.
Yeah, I was gonna say, definitely. I mean, you do have to, but I think once people start really seeing that impact and start really seeing that. Even for your own mental health, I know that I used to work, 80-hour weeks, 90-hour weeks consistently for, it helped to have other people going through similar things and a community of people. So I think it takes a village even for us as leaders leading a lot of the work. We need time to vent and have people, what I like to call secret shares. I don't know if everyone needs that one person that you can go home to, or that one friend that can give you that unbiased-ish, as much as possible, professional advice that you're like, man, I'm about to make this move. What do you think about this move, right? And so, that could be your brother, or it could be your partner. But
So who's that for you?
I have a best friend, and I always call her. Her name is Ingrid, and she is just like a badass Latina, doing her thing.
Powerhouse.
She's just a powerhouse. Her and her blood sister, we're all line sisters.
Okay.
Jamie, anything I do, like if I'm going for an interview, if I need to make a decision on like anything, I just like contact them. And they keep it real. Sometimes they tell me things where I don't even. Right? Sometimes they tell me things where I'm like, oh, I didn't like that very much. And I'll take a couple,
tell you about yourself.
I won't reply for a couple hours. I had to focus. I had to really, but it's good because you need it. You appreciate it. I'll be salty. I'll be like, all right,
why are you salty, bro?
Maybe I shouldn't approach it that way. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
It's all good. I mean, you mentioned sorority too. I know, but for those who listen, what's the sorority you're part of?
So I was a co-founder on my campus at UCLA for Lambda Theta Alpha, which is the first and largest Latina sorority. So I was part of the largest line in the history of our organization, which is a line of 29, which a line of 29.
That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen, but we were we had an interest group.
I know y'all were some.
We had an interest group of like 80.
You know what I'm saying? It's real.
So we had a big interest group of like 80 girls. We just like took over UCLA, and it ended up crossing 29, yeah. But
everyone knew about you guys' line.
There were
in college.
29 of us.
Yes,
yeah,
deep.
and I was the number 9, so I'm the tallest 5'3", number 9 that you know. And people might not know this is Greek talk. This is like, you know.
Yeah, we might get some insight or something.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
That Greek, yeah. So that's actually how we ended up meeting, because through the Greek circles, which is so cool. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So so let's talk about your background in you growing up in Inglewood. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to know something a challenge, something that challenged you in your life, growing up in Inglewood as a first generation with immigrant parents.
Yeah.
What are some challenges you can remember that you had growing up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I bounced around a lot in Inglewood into different schools. So I'm always like the new kid. I feel like I was always a new kid.
Oh, really?
And I grew up with my parents up until about, my parents separated when I was like 8 or 9. And I would consider myself growing up with a single parent, really with my mom. After that, it was just me, my mom, and I have 3 brothers. I have twin brothers, so hey.
Oh, really?
You didn't know this? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been 10 years, so.
10 years, yeah. So I have twin older brothers, Chewy and Louie. Isn't that funny? Chewy and Louie. Jesus, Jesus, but we say in Mexico we say Chewy. And I have a younger brother who's married. I have a niece, a goddaughter. And he's 21, I believe. So I'm the middle kid, kind of, because twins. So I'm the middle kid. And so for me, growing up in Inglewood, I was the first person to graduate from high school in my whole family. And so my brothers dropped out of high school. My parents didn't go to high school. My mom went to 8th grade, up until 8th grade. So I didn't think college, honestly, it wasn't something that I thought about very often. So growing up in Inglewood, I also didn't have other people that were talking about college very often. But what I did have was really, really awesome teachers.
That's cool.
Hence why I'm passionate about this work. But I really feel like I had this one teacher, Ms. Dreyer, who passed away a couple years at Hawthorne High School. So I ended up going to Hawthorne High, which is right next to Inglewood.
Yep.
She was like, have you thought about applying to UCLA? Or, my dream school was Northwestern, which I was going to go to, but then you go through this, and this is an interesting perspective as first gen, was I got into these top 10 Ivy Leagues, I got into, and my mom was convincing me, doing everything she could to convince me to not go, right? So she was like,
why?
You got to stay in LA, you can't go, right? Leaving home is like, what? You're going to be 18. You're the first person to leave home. You're the first one to go to college in your entire family. So leaving to Chicago to Northwestern was not like, even though it was like I was like, Northwestern. Right. I had dreams, Exactly. And she was like, no, you're not going to go. And so she's like, if you stay and go to UCLA, in my head, I'm like, well, UCLA ain't that bad of a school, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm really falling back,
Right.
She's like, if you stay, I will buy you this new car. And I was like, what? I get a new car? I get to stay? I get to be in my hometown. I get to, so I was sold.
If you think about it, that saved her money though. Her getting you a car.
But I had a scholarship though, so she didn't pay for college, you know what I mean? And I had... So no. So you know what I mean? So for her, it's just this first living in 2 worlds, right? I would go home. I had to come home in the beginning every weekend because she'd be like, well, you forgot about us. We ain't coming home. But it's, it's this first gen struggle. It's this, you are 2 different people and you have to battle both worlds, right? You're trying to navigate this one space that for me, UCLA was a very interesting space because I look white, right? But I'm not. So that's another perspective in Inglewood, right? Yeah. Growing up in Inglewood, I was a token white kid. I'm not complaining. I'm just acknowledging the privilege, right? So I was a token white looking kid, but I spoke Spanish. I'm hella Mexican, right?
Exactly.
My brother, my mom, everyone looks Mexican, I would quote Mexican. I'm Mexican, come in all colors, obviously.
Exactly.
But I didn't fall into this traditional stereotype. And then when I went to UCLA, they were like, "You don't look like somebody from Inglewood," and I'm like, ugh. I get so upset over these like microaggressions, but yeah.
So I talk about microaggressions all the time because I know I still get them. I definitely still get them.
Yeah. As a nurse, I'm sure too, right?
Oh, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
I know, I don't, but I could only imagine because one, it's a female dominant profession.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's first.
One.
Yeah.
Two, like it's not men of color.
To be honest with you, black men in nursing, you don't really see that. And if you do, you don't see the ones that look the way I look.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see that like this big burly man is an RN. Yeah. It's real.
No, I totally get it.
And they always say, doctor. I say, no, I'm a nurse.
Yeah. You walk in, they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, they go. It's always like that.
Wait a minute.
And then I tell you,
a little sick.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times.
Come in here one more time.
I'll go to the waiting room sometimes, and then I'll leave back out because I'm calling a patient in.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back out, and all of a sudden, all the women in there are like, I'm sick. It'll be stuff like that.
Oh, do some CPR.
My God.
Oh my God, that's
you have no idea.
What an interesting perspective.
So yeah, or even just being a black man. Like one time where I walked in and someone just asked me for, hey, is it okay I get some water? And I go, great, but we don't just give patients water because you never know what they're there for. I have to ask whoever is taking care of that patient, like, hey, is that cool? So I go, who's your nurse? And then she goes, I don't know. I said, okay, let me go find that out for you. So right as I'm leaving, she goes, she turns back to me and she goes, you're such a nice Negro man.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
What was your face?
I mean, how do you respond to that? I was like,
and you're in a work setting.
Thanks. Yeah. I was like,
backhanded comment. Not
thanks.
even, that was a very that was like,
I know the tech, the EMT who was there. He's black dude. My height, looks like me actually. Well, we look alike, and he goes, dude, that's the wrong response for that. That's what he said. He's like, that's the wrong response for that, right? But how do you take that? Stuff like that. Yeah. So I get being, the microaggressions and all that. It is what it is. I just take it for what it is. And that sounds like that's what you do.
It's weird because I feel very conflicted about this. So I feel like I'm always the vocal Latina in any space. Like I'm very opinionated. I hate that word. Like I have opinions, right? Like
opinion has a bad connotation.
I'm not supposed to have opinions. But I'm very vocal because I know that usually I'm the only Latina in spaces like professional, like decision-making tables type of spaces.
Right.
And if I don't speak up, then who kind of will, right? And because I look white, like I know that I have access to spaces and conversations, and people might let me eavesdrop a little more than other, right? And so
advantage.
Right. And so I've had that growing. I knew that I could code switch like that, and I had that privilege of going from two different worlds, right? Like I can, and I just recently dyed my hair brown, but it's usually this I'm actually usually blonde, but I've had this like I don't know, this like revolutionary. I just need to go back to my roots. I just need to embrace
Come on, you gotta do that.
Anyway, this is Stephanie 2.0.
Okay, yeah, you're good.
3.0 because I feel like I've at least had a 2.0 once before.
Good. Well, it looks great on you, so don't even worry about it. You're straight.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what would you say is one of maybe the worst things you might have gone through that's been a defining moment for your life that has set you up for today? Because I feel like we've all had those.
Yeah, I know that's a tough one. One of the worst things that I've gone through.
Or the biggest challenge, you can rephrase it that way.
Biggest challenge?
Yeah, biggest challenge that you've had in the past.
Okay. I think I grew up, it's not one single like thing that happened. Right. I wouldn't say it's one single event that has happened that has been the most. But I would just say it's an aggregate of these types of events, which is really just growing up, really trying to navigate getting a mentor, like getting mentors. I think for me was really hard to have, like growing up. Of course, my mom, was a mentor, but I think I know she was a mentor, but she definitely mentored me and taught me a lot of grit and hustle, right? Like she taught me that aspect that I think is important. But I really think for me, the challenge was having not really having anybody to ask questions to, not really having, and I think that's what I'm really passionate about it. Like literally, I think that the challenges have really just kind of fueled what I'm really interested in. I think professionally though, I remember working for the Obama campaign, and that was the hardest job I've ever had.
Wow, how was that?
Hardest job I ever had. And I don't think anything else will ever compare to it. So I was working in East Broward County in South Florida, which is the county that swung the state, which is the county that is like, for the Obama campaign was defining, right?
Right.
I worked there in 2012. And I remember calling my mom almost every week, crying, wanting to go home. Like that's how bad it was, right? Like, and I thought I could tough it out, but
how long did you work there for?
I was out there for a little bit less than half a year. But you have no days off, not one. I had not one day off.
So wait. So what do you mean? So let's say a working day. Yeah. What's the time? What's the schedule?
So you wake up, you're at the office. So I managed an office for the Obama campaign. And I had about 25 to 28 precincts that I managed and organized for. What that means is like, you're doing community organizing. Think about a community organizing, knocking on doors, getting people out to vote. But what you're also doing for the Obama campaign was the most structured oil machine campaign ran in the history of any campaign ever, right? This man was like, his team were just incredible.
Wow.
And what I would do was, so you wake up, we wake up after 4 hours of sleep a day. I would sleep at the office on my couch because it would be done at 2 a.m. and I had to be at the office at 6 a.m. to open. So I'd be like, why am I going home? So this is really funny. So my first 2 days, I took a lunch break that was about an hour and a half. And I remember taking a lunch break, getting back, and one of the coworkers that was there was like, where were you for an hour and a half? And I was like, I'm on lunch, like none of your business, And then he's like, okay, Stephanie, let's think about this. How many people do you talk to in about 1 hour organizing? And I was like, oh, okay. I talked to about at least 8 people or so that I'm having conversations with. How many of those are you registering to vote? Okay, that's, about 4 or 5 that had not registered to vote at that time. Okay, so you take a lunch break, you multiply that by the time you're here. Think about how many votes and how many people you're not talking to by taking a lunch break. And I was like, the world on my shoulders, like real, but that was real talk though.
That was good.
But real talk. And so I was like, it was so hard because, I was living with a volunteer. I love her. She was a retired doctor. This white lady, her name was Trudy, who had a blind poodle and lived on the beach in a condo. And I touched the beach twice in my time there. And I lived on the beach. Yeah. So that was like the hardest experience for me because it was just really like literally tiring till your bones hurt. Like literally I would not be able to get out of bed. I would get sick. You had to go to work. But you also just felt like you had to work. Like the election was that close and that important that you had to be out there. And so the pressure, I think, was just like kind of ate me up. But
what did you get from that? Like,
what did I get from it?
Like,
aside
looking
from
back,
the doors that all opened after.
For you? Yeah.
Oh man, like professionally, that was like the best decision I've ever made. Like for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah, I got the job, and 3 days later, I was like, literally, I heard about the job. My friend hit me up, and this is a lesson to be learned for people. Okay, this is a big like life tip. I in social media had a big presence talking about politics, right? I was always talking about politics, so I was building a brand for myself that I didn't even know I was building a brand for myself. I didn't know. My friend Bertrand knew this, and he knew somebody who was on the ground working for the Obama campaign, and people were dropping like flies at this time because things are picking up.
Yeah.
And so somebody dropped on their first day, and he was like, hey, I know somebody, let me connect you. Asked me, would you be down to move to Florida at the end of the week? And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, well, tell me more. Like for the Obama campaign, I was like, say no more. I was working somewhere at LA's Best, told my boss, who is now my mentor, told her, and she's like, girl, I don't care what, you're gonna go and you're gonna have a job when you get back here, the same job. And they just believed in me and believed that this was an opportunity that I had to take. And so I left. By the end of the week, I was living in Florida. Who would have thought, right? All from really a mess, like my social media platform that I had used. And I can't tell you how many other opportunities that come from that. But like, it's just really that idea. Like you really don't know when how you're building your brand or setting yourself up for your life work. I don't like to call it this is your life work. This is not my career. This is like literally I'm living my passion. So yeah, so people like to call it work-life balance. I like to call it life-work balance, because you really look at like your life should become your first priority, and language matters. And it's really about like setting up work around your life, vice versa, which I had a lot of problems with. I don't know if you have.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was a little, so that I struggle with that all the time. I think I'm still struggling. I'm just getting to
the point where I said, you know what? Because what happened for me was I was trying to chase a goal, and I was like, I gotta get this.
Yep.
So until I get there,
yep,
I'm not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not, even my family. I'm like, y'all, I'll be there soon.
Yep. Yep.
Now I can't. It's now become a part of my life. Like I have to make time for it.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's hard though. Yeah. It is.
It is hard.
It is hard. So I've been trying to do this 5:30. I think I told you this. Remember waking up early rule?
How's that going?
It's going. It's going more than that. So I was reading like most successful people, that rule about waking up at 5 a.m. They're like at the gym think about all the time that we can be if we have 3 extra hours to ourselves where the world is quiet. Yeah. Right? So by the time I usually start working 8 a.m., people are already like at the gym, already had breakfast, already checked their email, already set up their day. I want to be that person. I need to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I aspire.
I tried that 2 years ago.
No.
I just was sleep deprived.
Yeah, but you have to be disciplined about going to sleep early. Yeah, that's the hard part.
That's the thing. Yeah.
And I'm an owl, so that just doesn't work out. So I have to. It's adjustment.
Yeah, if you can do that, more power to you. I actually follow Gary. Do you know Gary Vaynerchuk?
I don't.
So I follow Gary Vaynerchuk, entrepreneur, big guy in social media right now. But what he talks about is he goes, look, it's to me, it's not necessarily about when you wake up. He's like, look, I wake up at like 6, which is still early, right?
It's hella early.
It's still early, right? And then he goes, it's really about what do you do when you're awake? It's like, what do you do when you're awake?
Work smart.
But you know what? Even me, I would say I have some good habits in place. I feel like I know for sure before I go to sleep, I always plan my day.
Okay. The next day.
Mm-hmm. I get on my phone. I have a task manager. Yeah. And I do this, do this. And what I notice when I do that, the next day, it's just boom, boom, boom. I'm just knocking it out.
Yeah. Do you schedule your hours too, from this time to this time? Because I've gotten to do that, and it's become easier for me.
That would be the next step in terms of a task.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay,
I do it
this
for
time
meetings,
to this time, I work for this. Yeah, not for tasks. I've been getting better at that. It's been just changing my life.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because otherwise I get distracted. So I will check my email. But if I check my emails at this time. Yeah. Then I only check my email at that time. And so I'm more productive. Yeah. Anyway.
I gotta learn from you about that.
Yeah. Well, I take little things from everybody, right?
Yeah.
So like, you tell me something, I'm like, that's what I do.
I need to learn from that. Okay, so all right, another thing I wanted to ask you is this: is like, what are some things that you feel like people need to understand in their life to get ahead, that that they're missing? A lot of people are missing.
Yeah. So, I would say number one is that what people are getting taught in schools, what people are getting taught when they're in college, is it's not really teaching you how to find your passion. And I think a degree is irrelevant if you don't know what your passion is. So I interview so many people I mean, I talk to so many people about what they're passionate about, or when I talk to people about positions that I'm trying to hire for, and they're like, what do you want to do, right? This question, like, what wakes you up before your alarm? People have a really hard time answering that question. And I think that's a really important question. Like, what wakes you up before your alarm? Most people are like, nothing wakes me up so right now in my life before my alarm, right? And so, and it's like, and it's unfortunate because I think we are taught so much that like degrees get you happiness, or a title gets you happy. You know, I'm a direct, you know, therefore I've accomplished. Or even your task list, right? Checking it off every day gives you some sense of like purpose, like, or you find your value in yourself based on the productivity that you have every day. Right. And I think that takes away from the value of like doing meaningful work because you love to do it, right? Not because of the outcome of it. So yeah, so I think people really, we need to teach. Mentors especially are really important to come back out into the community. People who've navigated, people like you who've learned, navigated these, really created your own lane, right? Like
it's essentially
you need, it's not even like you are just creating your own lane. Like, how do we go back and teach others? Because it's teachable. Yeah, it's totally teachable. And what you can teach is that cultural capital that you have, right? That grit, that like hustle that, you know, you learn while you were in maybe Nigeria in high school, right?
I sure did.
Yeah, right? Like, you can't teach that, but you can teach how to cultivate that. And I think that's an edge that people of color have that you can't learn in a book. You can't go to a workshop to figure out on your resume, because you really have to be able to just kind of highlight your greatness. And I think people sell themselves short. Like, we just across the board all the time sell yourself short. I always say that. Like, if we really talk our greatness up and we're like, like, brag, we should brag. Like, what do you mean? Like, that is awesome. I am here. Like, I did make it here, you know? And and so what? Like, take your selfie. Like, post that every day if you want to, girl. Like, you know?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, do that. Do you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. But, I mean, I feel like you've been blessed. You've been blessed to find what wakes you up in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty early, right?
I feel I don't know if it's luck. I hate to use the word luck, but a part of it is a little bit of luck.
A little bit of luck?
A little bit. And I wouldn't even say I'm lucky. I'm born on Friday the 13th on a full moon. You know, I will use luck very, you know, and I'm an Aquarius on top of that. So if you don't know what Aquarius is, and I'm Aquarius rising Aquarius for all those folks listening who are like into astrology. My ascendant sign is an Aquarius. Therefore, I'm the most Aquarius person you'll ever meet.
Like the Aquarius.
I'm hella Aquarius. Like, I am the, so if you love Aquariuses, you know, I mean, who doesn't though? But okay, but I'm getting a little biased now. What was the question? I forgot the question.
Well, no, the question was, I said you were blessed to find that for you though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think, and like I said, I look back at it now, and I think, because I would have never thought I would be doing this work. Like, never. I wanted to be an astronaut growing up. I legit wanted to be an astronaut. This wasn't like, no, I was like, I'm going to go to space camp. Like, this is going to, you know. But I've always been one of those people that whatever I'm into it. Like, I'm enthralled, like 100%. Mm-hmm. Like, whether I'm an NSYNC fan, I am the most hardcore NSYNC fan. I was like waiting, camping out for tickets. I was Justin Timberlake for Halloween. Like,
no, you weren't.
Yeah, I have. Wow. I have receipts. I can show you. So whatever it is, I go 100%. And I think when I was younger, it was a setup for what I'm doing now, which is like this human capital recruitment talent space, because, you know, I told you this earlier, and I'll say, I won't even be ashamed of it. When I was in college, I did like college. I was a club promoter for a little bit, right? Like,
turn up,
right? But you can have this sophisticated ratchet type of like, why can't we be intellectuals and have fun? Like, why can't we do both?
It's called being well-rounded. That's you're well-rounded.
I think somebody in one of my WOKEshops used, "Girl, you are bougetto." She said.
I've heard that one. Yeah. Wow.
So I was like, #bougetto, because, you know, and Miles has a sophisticated movement going on. So, yeah. So I advocate. I'm all for the sophisticated. You know, being intellectual, being, you know, owning your own lane, creating it. Hustling, and at the same time being able to have fun and be social and still be you, right? Like, I'm still Stephanie from Inglewood, right?
The block.
I'm still Stephanie from the block.
Steph from the block.
Steph from the block. Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
What and you know, you now, for people who are listening, right?
Yeah.
Because let's just be honest. You finding what you found and being involved in this and in your 20s and finding that you're not like most people.
Yeah.
So if someone, let's say, if a friend of mine who's in her mid-20s came to you, she goes, "Yo, I'm lost."
Yeah, I do career coaching. What do I do? Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
What do you have for them?
Yeah, I think so. There's two types of people that come in that space. I think one is I've been doing this work and it's just not fulfilling for me, right? So you found something that you're like maybe good at or something that you're like excelling in. So it's hard to let go of that because you're like, well, I mean, it pays my check, it gives me, pays my bills, it's not terrible, and then you have other people who are like, I'm not living my life purpose. I know it for a fact. I'm frustrated. I don't want to be in this space. I hate going to work. And that feeling I've had at one point, right? Like I remember having a feeling where I'm like, oh, do I really have to be here? I would say one of the biggest things is to really sit there and reflect. For me, I put in practices to really tap into what I'm really passionate about. So these are like, I meditate very often.
So that's one of your practices.
That's one of my practices. And I'm not saying that's going to enlighten you with what exactly your purpose is in life. But I think one of it is really being able to sit with yourself and reflect and understand what the meditation piece for me is really understanding how to really go with what my body feels and intuition. Because I think intuition, if I would have listened to my gut a lot of times, I think I would have avoided a lot of barriers and hoops that I've jumped through, right? Although they made me it's where I'm at now, but I'm trying, now that I'm 30, I'm really trying to be much more, like, work smarter, like you said, right? Like, be more strategic, and my next move has to be the best move. My next move better be, what is that? My next move better than my last move, or what is that?
My best, okay, we gotta just keep,
you know what I mean, right?
I got it.
So I would say put in practices where you give yourself, whether it's journaling, as I do that too, that's really important, or you get your ideas out. And then I think reaching out to somebody who you see already doing some of the work that you, like, if you would wake up and be in your ideal job, think about that. What would it be? What would it look like? What would it feel like? Would it be an office? Would it be outdoors? Like, for me, I can't go into an office. Like, I can't see myself at a desk. So guess what? I already narrowed out. I already scratched out hella jobs and careers, right? But I love talking to people. I love the interaction. So really sit there and think, like, what is it that it really fulfills me? What am I really passionate about? Break that down to the most fundamental, like, whether it be like literally being in a sunny location, right? Like, well, you're kind of narrowing some things down, right? Even spaces, cities you want to live in, right? And then really sit there and put in these practices where you're figuring smart goals, right? So short term. So by the end of this month, I will go to 2 conferences. I will go to 1 workshop. And then next month I'll go to 2 networking events for the field, or I'll go volunteer at this clinic because I want to be a veterinarian and I want to go check out this vet clinic and volunteer. Right? So you give yourself timelines so you're not just wasting your time either.
Right.
Say, I'm going to do this for X amount of time and really stick with it. Because if you can't even stick with the small timelines, then you're not prepared for the life change, right? Like the commitment that it takes, the hustle that it takes to really change and really commit to a career that's your life work.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. Now you just gave some nuggets. Throw some bones. No, that's great. And I mean, I could add on to that so much. And I mean, that's the purpose of this podcast. That's why, I called it the Think Alpha Project, is because, obviously the word alpha, that representing the best version of you. Yep. The version of you that is affecting change, that you're self-actualized. You're living out who you want to be and who you are. Yeah. But it takes the work. It takes what you're saying to get there. Yeah.
Discipline. Like, I've realized that I've been relying a lot on talent. And I think a lot of us, right? Like a lot of us rely a lot on just talent. We're just good at this. So whether we try or not, we're just going to be good at it. But how to become great at it, right? And so, like, I think part of it is not just relying on talent, you really have to have systems. You really have to have strategies, skills that you put into place, whether it's your calendar, your night before routines. For me, I like a little bit of a dive in mental health. Like, I have anxiety. And so for me, like in stressful situations at the Obama campaign and things, if I don't have systems, routines in my life that I know are constant, like my life will be like, I just don't know how to deal with it, right? So I think for me, having, especially those that are professionals that have some sort of mental health that they're struggling with, they're trying to balance, whether it's depression, anxiety, whatever it is, like having routines and having these systems and being admitting like, I have this challenge. My anxiety will go off the roof if I don't do this, being real about it and saying, and so that's how I control it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go, Stephanie. That's awesome. No, I mean, well, I just want to say all in all, man, this is great.
Yeah, no, I really love, this is awesome. And I'm excited for you to come on my Woke Talk podcast.
I mean,
it's almost kind of the same type of platform in terms of really trying to highlight dope work that people of color are doing around the country.
Yeah.
I think mine has a spin around having people add a level of consciousness into their work. So whether you're doing, health, nutrition, whether you're doing entrepreneurship, whether you're doing education, you bring yourself and who you are in your community with you. And so I think that's what the podcast really aims, is like, how do you do that? How do you go back to your community? What are you doing right? So because it's trying to really push this idea and plant seeds that like, we're all doing awesome work. Yeah. But what good is it if we're not reaching back out? Right.
Man, that's so true. I mean, that's what it's going to take, though. They always say it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, each one teach one.
Each one teach. Yeah, that's how it is. And everyone I know that even where I've gotten today is because I've been pulled up by certain people. Right. Certain people I meet along the way.
They believe you. They believe in your potential, even before you have the experience, right?
Right.
Like, I have my mentor now, Elizabeth. She has her own consulting work. She has her own podcast. She has her own work where she like motivates and trains young women of color in leadership skills. But like, she gave me that job managing 80 people at the age of 22, 23. I was like, how does she believed in me, right? Like, she's like, you have the skills and the passion. I can teach you everything else. And I think it took her being first gen, going to Harvard, and understanding that, somebody had to believe in her too.
She Latina too?
Yeah, she's Latina, first gen, went to Harvard, a D1 athlete. She's like dope.
She's badass.
Yeah, she's a dope. She used to be on the boss, yeah. But she, it took somebody like her to be like, I believe in your potential. And I think when I interview people, sometimes I'm like, maybe they don't have all the experience in the world, but do they have the potential? And do they have that spark, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So where can we find you?
You can find me. Where can we find me?
Yeah, so online, Instagram. I know you're
So you can reach me on social media platforms. So either on Facebook, Stephanie Castellanos. I don't know how many other Stephanie Castellanos.
But there's probably a lot. But where are you most active though? I think it's on Instagram.
It's on Instagram. Yeah. I will post on Instagram, Stephanie Castellanos, CASTELLANOS _ you can definitely follow my nonprofit's website, right, and work. So we are official _C4 DE. And you can go to our website, c4de.org. And then I'm relaunching my own website. I had it up until a couple weeks ago, but it will be launched by the end of the week. So probably be launched by the time you
go.
StephanieCastellanos.com. And on there you'll have a lot of the work that I'm doing, following a lot of the workshops. You want to attend some of the workshops that I'm doing, get in contact with the podcast that I'm going to be launching soon. And then,
I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be great. And you know what? And just so you guys know, like, all this stuff will be in the show notes. So you guys will get it, you go onto the website, you guys will be they'll be able to get all this on the show notes. So even when you launch, we'll put it all on there too.
Dope.
Yeah. Awesome. So, okay. Hit me with the pound. I appreciate that. So I just want to acknowledge you. All right. I want to acknowledge you for, first off, being true to yourself. That's number one.
Okay.
Because I really feel like in a world where honestly people are glorifying more of what you can buy on you and what you can, you've embraced who you are, what you're good at, and you're using that to benefit others. And I just know it's the highest. I feel like it's one of the highest forms of you being yourself.
Yeah.
Is that?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So just thank you for being a stand for others. I think you're.
And thank you too. Can I do that?
Yeah, I ain't done yet.
What? Can I throw that in there?
Yeah, fine.
All right. I was really excited to hear that you're doing this work, so I'm just really excited to even be here. This is you. This is when I heard you were like, yeah, of course. Like this is, you know what I mean? There's just some things that people do that you're like, this is natural. Like this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And it's really beautiful to see your friends who I feel like I've seen you grow. Maybe we didn't connect in person for so long.
Well, I've seen you grow.
You see each other grow through social media, and I don't want to say that I hate that because you don't really know. We need to make more of an effort to connect with people outside of social media, but I do think seeing your growth in transition, and I mean even before nursing, like right, this is when you were still an undergrad, stepping at the step show, you know.
I was killing it.
You was killing it.
You remember that? Good. As long as you remember that.
Yeah, but no, thank you. Yeah,
absolutely. So looking forward to everything you got going on, and I hope. I know you're running for office too. You didn't mention that.
I didn't mention that.
Let's mention that before we go. Yeah.
So part of the work that I've been doing is really to get in touch with my community again. So I've left, and since I've left, I can say I'm from Inglewood. But I've haven't really lived in Inglewood other than after college. I lived in Inglewood in a couple of years. I was in the Bay Area, and so for me, part of that calling was for me to come back into my community, and so. The Inglewood has been going through a lot of transitions. Really are going to be the next what people call Echo Park Boyle Heights, where they're getting gentrified. And I'm somebody who's organized in Inglewood, somebody who grew up in Inglewood, somebody who really has literally all my tias, my tios, my grandparents live on literally within blocks of each other. We're all like in the same district. I don't want to see my community change in the ways that I know that it's going to. And so I'm loving politics, I've always thought I would like go into office at some point. I never thought it would be this soon. But I really am exploring the idea that, there's an open seat in my district. The person that's been in the seat has ran for 3 elections unopposed, has won each election by less than 700 votes. Meaning, one, it's a bigger issue. It highlights a bigger issue, which is civic engagement in my community. People don't vote, right? That's a problem. But the other thing is that, it's just business as usual has been happening in our community for too long. And that's not what's really been uplifting our community. Haven't really seen a lot of change. And so I've been having listening tours where I'm going to all over the community, talking to people, seeing what really matters to them, and building a platform around really the people, my tios, my tias, my church, right? Everywhere and so I'm hoping that the election comes down in April of 2019 to be one of the youngest people ever elected, as well as somebody who's homegrown, right? Like somebody who is from there, which I think we need more young leaders stepping up to the plate. There are one of my friends, Giovanni, just ran for District 1. He didn't win, but I think it's about putting our names out there, just giving it a shot and saying I have nothing to lose.
Right.
I'm going in there to win. You know what I mean? Like I'm going in there definitely hungry because I really feel like this is a very important election. The metro is going to be opening up through Inglewood, so we know what that does to communities. It's a great thing, but it could also, if not implemented correctly, could really harm the community. You have the football stadium that's coming. You have the Forum, which has been bought by Madison Square Garden and has concerts all the time, which is awesome in some ways and respects. You have an outdoors, like similar to the Grove, that's going to be opening up with these bougie, bad and bougie stores. You already have the Gap in my community, so I'm like, wait, what? The Gap is here. Yeah. So I think it's time. Like, I think it's either now or never. So I've been exploring the idea. I've been talking to folks. I have a really good network of people who are already in office in LA that have been, what is it like? What is a day in the life? Like really making sure that I'm being intentional about my next move, because it's a big move.
It's a big move.
And a lot to think about, right? As a woman, as a Latina,
Yeah. And as a woman, as a Latina, before we say goodbye, give our listeners a parting piece of guidance.
A parting piece of guidance. That's a good question. What would I leave off on? I would say, you kind of already said this though, and I feel like this is what I would say, but I think it's really hard to stay true to yourself and what you're really passionate about. And I think I have a couple trainings that really focus on like your culture, like building that, your cultural capital, what we already have.
Right.
And because I do a lot of work in like inspiring and coaching first gen students of color, I think my message really for them, I would say, because I think that we're starting school up, and a lot of the times right now during this time, you're going to feel like you don't belong in that classroom. You're going to feel like, how did I make it here? You're going to feel like, who let me into this school sometimes, or who let me into this class, or how did I get into this major, or how did I get this job, right? And so we have this like fraud. We feel like frauds, and just know that you're not. That's my like last message. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah. And on that note, I appreciate it once again. And hopefully we can do this time.
Yeah.
It'll be on yours.
Yes. Hopefully we will.
We will. It will happen. Okay, good. Okay, well.
Awesome.
Thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you.